What happens when one of Britain's most beloved morning television hosts comes face to face with royalty gone rogue? In just 30 seconds, a single comment turned a friendly chat into the most explosive exit in daytime TV history. This is the story of the day Meghan Markle walked onto the Lorraine show and walked off in disgrace. The morning started like any other. Lorraine Kelly sat in her bright yellow chair, her signature warmth radiating through the studio as cameras prepared to roll. Meghan Markle was scheduled to discuss her latest venture. The audience settled in, expecting the usual polite conversation, but nobody could have predicted what was about to unfold. Lorraine greeted Meghan with her trademark Scottish charm, a genuine smile spreading across her face as the former royal took her seat. Small talk about the weather, not compliments on outfits, the kind of gentle banter that morning television thrives on. "It's wonderful to have you here," Lorraine said. "You look absolutely lovely." Meghan smiled, but something felt different. There was a stiffness in her posture, a coolness in her eyes that the cameras caught immediately. "Thank you for having me," Meghan replied, her American accent crisp and measured. Lorraine dove into her first real question, asking about Meghan's new podcast series. It was a softball, the kind of question any publicist would approve. But Meghan's response came with an edge. "Well, Lorraine, I think what people don't understand is how difficult it is to have a platform and use it responsibly. Not everyone can handle that kind of pressure." The studio went quiet for a beat. Lorraine, ever the professional, smiled and nodded. "I'm sure that's true. You've certainly faced your share of challenges in the public eye." "Challenges?" Meghan's eyebrows raised. "Is that what we're calling it?" "I'd call it persecution. Systematic attacks from a media that's never understood me." Lorraine shifted slightly in her chair, maintaining her composure. "The media can certainly be tough. I've been in this industry for over 30 years, so I understand." "Do you?" Meghan interrupted, her voice sharp. "Do you really understand what it's like to have the entire world watching your every move? To be scrutinized for everything you say, everything you wear?" The audience exchanged glances. This wasn't going the way anyone expected. Lorraine took a breath, her smile never wavering. "I think many people in the public eye face scrutiny. Yes, it's part of the territory. Isn't it? But you've also had tremendous opportunities." "Opportunities?" Meghan let out a short laugh. "You mean opportunities to be torn apart? To have my character assassinated daily?" "I didn't mean it that way at all," Lorraine said gently. "I simply meant that your platform has allowed you to speak about causes you care about. That's a positive thing, surely." Meghan leaned forward, her expression hardening. "You know what I find interesting, Lorraine. How people like you sit in your comfortable studios, asking your comfortable questions, never having to face real consequences." The air in the studio grew thick. Lorraine's producer shifted nervously behind the cameras, wondering whether to cut to commercial. "I'm not sure I follow," Lorraine said, her tone still measured and kind. "Of course you don't," Meghan shot back. "That's exactly my point. You've built a career on being nice, on never rocking the boat. Some of us actually stand for something." Lorraine's smile tightened, but her professionalism held firm. "I'd like to think I stand for quite a lot, actually. Kindness, for one. Treating people with respect." "Respect?" Meghan's voice rose slightly. "Is it respectful to invite someone on your show just to patronize them?" "I haven't patronized you," Lorraine said, her voice calm but firm. "I've asked you straightforward questions about your work. That's what we do here." "Maybe that's the problem," Meghan said. "Maybe your questions are too straightforward, too simple. You're not digging deep enough." Lorraine paused, choosing her words carefully. "What would you like me to ask you?" "How about asking me what it's really like?" Meghan said, her hands gesturing sharply. "How about asking me about the death threats, the racism, the absolute cruelty I've endured?" "Those are absolutely valid topics," Lorraine said softly, "and if you'd like to talk about them, I'm here to listen." But Meghan, I invited you here to discuss your podcast, your positive work. I thought that's what you wanted to focus on. Meghan sat back, crossing her arms. There you go again, controlling the narrative. The audience was completely silent now, every eye fixed on the two women. I'm not trying to control anything, Lorraine said, a hint of frustration finally creeping into her voice. I'm trying to have a conversation, but it takes two people willing to actually communicate. Don't lecture me about communication, Meghan snapped. I've been communicating just fine. Maybe you're not listening. Lorraine took a deep breath, her decades of experience showing as she attempted to redirect. Let's start over, shall we? Tell me about your podcast. What inspired you to start it? Why does it matter? Meghan asked. You've already made up your mind about me. Everyone has. You all sit here with your judgments, your little opinions. I haven't judged you, Lorraine interrupted, her voice rising just slightly. I've been nothing but welcoming since you sat down. Welcoming? Meghan laughed bitterly. Is that what this is? Because it feels like an interrogation. Asking about your podcast is an interrogation? Lorraine's patience was beginning to wear thin, though she fought to maintain her composure. Everything is an interrogation when you're me, Meghan said. Every question has a subtext. Every word is a trap. Lorraine leaned forward, her eyes locked on Meghan's. I promise you, there is no trap here. I ask questions. Guests answer them. That's how interviews work. I've done thousands of them. Maybe that's your problem, Meghan said coldly. You've done so many that you've forgotten how to actually connect with people. It's all just routine for you. The insult hung in the air. Lorraine's expression shifted, a flash of hurt crossing her face before she recovered. That's not fair, Lorraine said quietly. And it's not true. Isn't it? Meghan pressed. When was the last time you actually cared about one of your guests? Really cared? I care about every single person who sits in that chair, Lorraine said, her voice firm. Including you, believe it or not. Meghan scoffed. Please, you care about ratings. And you care about your reputation as Britain's sweetheart. But caring about me? About my actual feelings? I doubt that very much. Lorraine sat back, her jaw tight. You don't know me. You don't know what I care about. And you don't know me, Meghan fired back. But that hasn't stopped you from having opinions, has it? What opinions? Lorraine asked, her voice rising. I haven't expressed any opinions about you. I've been completely neutral. Neutral, Meghan repeated mockingly. That's the problem right there. Neutrality in the face of injustice is complicity. Injustice? Lorraine's eyes widened. What injustice is happening right now in this studio? The injustice of not being heard, Meghan said dramatically. Of being reduced to sound bites and headlines. Of having my truth dismissed. Lorraine rubbed her forehead, exhaustion creeping into her features. Meghan, I've given you a platform. You're on national television. Millions of people are watching. You're being heard. But am I being understood? Meghan challenged. There's a difference. Help me understand then, Lorraine said, spreading her hands. I'm genuinely trying here. Meghan stood abruptly, the sudden movement startling everyone. You know what? I don't think you are. I think this was a mistake. Lorraine looked up at her, confusion and concern mixing on her face. What are you doing? I'm leaving, Meghan announced. I don't need to sit here and be disrespected. Disrespected? Lorraine stood as well, her voice incredulous. How have I disrespected you? By not getting it, Meghan said, grabbing her handbag. By sitting there with your fake smile, pretending to care when really you're just like all the rest. That's completely unfair, Lorraine said, her voice shaking slightly. I've been nothing but kind to you. Kind? Meghan's laugh was bitter. You think asking surface-level questions is kindness? You think going through the motions is enough? I think, Lorraine said slowly, her patience finally snapping, "that you came here looking for a fight, and I'm not going to give you one." "I came here hoping for understanding," Meghan corrected, but clearly that was too much to ask. "Understanding goes both ways," Lorraine said. "I've tried to understand you, but you've spent this entire interview attacking me for doing my job." Meghan's eyes flashed. "Your job is to ask real questions, to dig deeper, to actually care about the answers." "I do care," Lorraine insisted. "But I can't have a conversation with someone who interprets everything as an attack." "There it is," Meghan said triumphantly. "Now we're getting somewhere. You think I'm being difficult. You think I'm overreacting. I think," Lorraine said carefully, "that you're going through something, and I wish you'd talk to me about it instead of lashing out." "I'm not lashing out," Meghan protested. "I'm defending myself." "Against what?" Lorraine asked, her arms outstretched. "I haven't attacked you. I've asked you about your work. That's literally all I've done." Meghan shook her head. "You just don't get it, and you never will." "Then help me get it," Lorraine pleaded. "Sit back down. Let's actually talk." "I'm done talking," Meghan said. "This interview is over." Lorraine's producer rushed forward, microphone in hand. "Meghan, please. Can we just take a quick break?" "No," Meghan said sharply. "I'm leaving. This was a complete waste of my time." Lorraine's face flushed, anger finally breaking through her professional facade. "A waste of your time? Do you have any idea how many people would love to have this platform? How many important voices never get heard because they don't have the opportunities you've had?" "Don't you dare!" Meghan spun around, pointing a finger at Lorraine. "Don't you dare talk to me about opportunities. You have no idea what I've sacrificed." "Sacrificed?" Lorraine's voice was incredulous. "You've traveled the world, met incredible people, used your voice for causes you believe in. Those are privileges, not sacrifices." "Privileges that came with a price," Meghan shot back. "A price you've never had to pay." "Everyone pays a price for success," Lorraine said, "but most people don't complain about it on national television." The audience gasped. Lorraine had finally said what many were thinking. Meghan's face went red. "How dare you? How absolutely dare you?" "I dare," Lorraine said, standing her ground, "because someone needs to be honest with you. You came on this show with an agenda. You wanted to be offended. You wanted drama. Well, congratulations. You've got it." "Unbelievable," Meghan muttered, shaking her head. "Absolutely unbelievable." "What's unbelievable," Lorraine continued, her voice steady, "is that you can't see how privileged you are. How many doors have opened for you? How many people would trade places with you in a heartbeat?" "Privileged?" Meghan's voice rose to a shout. "You think being torn apart by the press is a privilege? You think having your mental health destroyed is a privilege?" "I think," Lorraine said quietly, "that you've faced real challenges. I'm not denying that. But I also think you've used those challenges as a shield against any criticism. And that's not fair." "Nothing about my life has been fair," Meghan said, her voice breaking slightly. For a moment, Lorraine's expression softened. "Then talk to me about it. Really talk. Not this defensive, angry version. The real you." Meghan stood still, conflict playing across her face. For a second, it seemed like she might actually sit back down. But then her expression hardened again. "No," she said firmly. "I don't owe you anything. I don't owe anyone anything." "You're right," Lorraine agreed. "You don't owe me anything. But you invited yourself into the public eye. You chose this life, and part of that life is having conversations, even difficult ones." "This isn't a conversation," Meghan said. "This is an ambush." "An ambush?" Lorraine threw her hands up. "I asked you about your podcast. That's where this started. Everything else, all this anger and drama, that came from you." "Because your questions were condescending," Meghan insisted. "They weren't," Lorraine said firmly. And deep down, you know they weren't. You're angry about other things, and you're taking it out on me. Meghan grabbed her microphone and pulled it off, nearly throwing it at the sound technician. I'm not taking anything out on anyone. I'm simply refusing to play your game. What game? Lorraine demanded. The game where I treat you like every other guest? Where I ask questions and expect answers? That game? The game where you pretend to be neutral while secretly judging everything I say, Meghan said. I'm not judging you, Lorraine said, exasperation clear in her voice. But I am human. And right now, I'm judging your behavior in this moment, because it's been rude and uncalled for. Meghan's mouth fell open. Rude? You're calling me rude? Yes, Lorraine said simply. I am. Because you've been rude since you sat down. You've twisted my words, attacked my character, and refused to engage honestly. I've been nothing but honest, Meghan protested. Honest? Lorraine shook her head. You've been defensive. There's a difference. Maybe I have reason to be defensive, Meghan said. Maybe I've learned that people can't be trusted. And maybe, Lorraine said softly, you're so busy defending yourself that you can't see when someone is actually trying to help you. Meghan stared at her, emotions flickering across her face. You don't want to help me. You want a story. I want a conversation, Lorraine corrected. A real one. But you won't let that happen. Because I know how this ends, Meghan said. I say something. You twist it. And tomorrow, the headlines make me look terrible. I don't control the headlines, Lorraine said. Neither do you. But we do control what happens in this room right now. And right now, you're choosing to leave instead of choosing to stay and actually communicate. Meghan picked up her handbag, slinging it over her shoulder. I'm choosing to protect myself. That's what I've learned to do. From what? Lorraine asked, genuine confusion in her voice. See, what are you protecting yourself from right now? From being made to look foolish, Meghan said. From being turned into a villain. The only person making you look foolish, Lorraine said gently, is you. Right now. In this moment. Meghan's eyes widened. Excuse me? I'm sorry, but it's true, Lorraine said. You came here with an opportunity to share your story, your projects, your voice. Instead, you've spent the entire time arguing with me about absolutely nothing. It's not nothing to me, Meghan said, her voice wavering. Then what is it? Lorraine asked, stepping closer. What's really going on here? Because this isn't about my questions. This is about something deeper. Meghan turned away, her shoulders tense. You wouldn't understand. Try me, Lorraine urged. I've been doing this a long time. I've talked to people going through all kinds of struggles. Let me understand. No, Meghan said, turning back around, because you'll just use it against me. Everyone does. Not everyone is everyone, Lorraine said. I'm me, and I'm standing here, asking you to trust me, just for these few minutes. Meghan's resolve seemed to waver again. I can't. Why not? Lorraine pressed gently. Because every time I do, I get hurt, Meghan admitted, her voice small. Lorraine's expression filled with sympathy. I understand that. I really do. But shutting everyone out isn't the answer either. It's safer, Meghan said. Maybe, Lorraine acknowledged. But it's also lonely, and it prevents real connection. Meghan blinked rapidly, fighting back tears. But then, as quickly as the vulnerability appeared, it vanished. Her face hardened again. Nice try, she said coldly. But I see what you're doing. You're trying to manipulate me into breaking down on camera. Well, it won't work. Lorraine's shoulders sagged. That's not what I'm doing at all. I'm trying to have a human moment with you. There are no human moments on television, Meghan said bitterly. Everything is calculated. Everything is for ratings. That's incredibly cynical, Lorraine said. That's realistic, Meghan countered. I've learned the hard way. Lorraine took a deep breath, her patience clearly exhausted. Fine. If you want to leave, leave. But know that you're making a choice. You're choosing to see this as hostile when it wasn't. I'm well aware of my choices, Meghan said icily. And I choose not to subject myself to this anymore. To what? Lorraine demanded. To a perfectly normal interview? To standard questions? To basic professional courtesy? To judgment disguised as concern, Meghan said. I've seen it 1,000 times. You're seeing things that aren't there, Lorraine said flatly. And honestly, at this point, I don't know what else to say to you. Then don't say anything, Meghan suggested. Just let me go. You're free to go whenever you want, Lorraine said, gesturing toward the exit. You always have been. Nobody's forcing you to be here. No, but you're certainly making me regret coming, Meghan said. Lorraine's jaw clenched. That feeling is mutual. The words hung in the air like a slap. Meghan's eyes widened, genuine shock crossing her face. Well, she said after a long pause, at least now you're being honest. I've been honest this entire time, Lorraine said tiredly. You just haven't wanted to hear it. I've heard plenty, Meghan said, turning toward the door. Meghan, Lorraine called out, her voice softer. You don't have to do this. You can still stay. Meghan paused, her hand on her bag. For a third time, it seemed like she might reconsider. But then she shook her head. No, she said firmly. I really can't. This was a mistake from the start. Why? Lorraine asked, genuine curiosity in her voice now. Why was it a mistake? Because I thought you'd be different, Meghan said, looking back at her. I thought you'd actually listen, actually care. But you're just like all the rest. I have listened, Lorraine said. I've listened to every word you've said. The problem is, you haven't said much of substance. You've just attacked me. I haven't attacked you, Meghan protested weakly. Yes, Lorraine said firmly. You have. From almost the moment you sat down, you've been hostile and defensive. You've accused me of things I haven't done. You've twisted innocent questions into insults. That's not communication. That's combat. Meghan's face flushed. Maybe I've had to learn to fight back. Fighting back implies you're under attack, Lorraine said. But you're not. At least not here. Not from me. It feels like an attack, Meghan said quietly. I know, Lorraine said, her voice gentler. And I'm sorry you feel that way. But feelings aren't always facts. Sometimes we have to step back and look at reality. My reality is different from yours, Meghan said. I don't doubt that, Lorraine agreed. But right now, in this studio, the reality is simple. I asked you questions. You took offense. And now, you're leaving. Those are the facts. Meghan stood silent for a moment, processing. Then she squared her shoulders. The fact is, I don't belong here. I never did. And with that, she walked toward the exit, her heels clicking loudly on the studio floor. Lorraine watched her go, a mixture of frustration and sadness on her face. The crew stood frozen, unsure what to do. As Meghan reached the door, she turned back one final time. You know what the saddest part is? She said, her voice carrying across the silent studio. I actually thought you were one of the good ones. Lorraine met her gaze steadily. I am one of the good ones. That's why this hurts. Meghan's lip trembled slightly, but she said nothing more. She pushed through the door and disappeared, leaving behind a stunned studio and a host who'd just experienced the strangest interview of her 30-year career. Lorraine stood there for a long moment, processing what had just happened. Then she turned to the camera, her professional mask slipping back into place. Well, she said with a slight shake of her head, that was unexpected. The audience remained silent, still processing the confrontation they'd just witnessed. Lorraine sat back down in her yellow chair, smoothing her skirt and taking a deep breath. Her hands trembled slightly, but her voice remained steady. I've been doing this job for a very long time. I've interviewed thousands of people, and I've always tried to treat everyone with respect and kindness. That's what I believe in. That's who I am." She paused, emotion breaking through. I don't know what Meghan expected from this interview, but I can tell you what I expected. A conversation, a chance to connect. Instead, I got accusations and anger directed at me for simply doing my job. The audience began to murmur supportively. "I'm not angry. I'm sad. Sad that someone is clearly hurting so much that they lash out at people trying to help. Sad that we couldn't find common ground. Sad that an opportunity for real dialogue was wasted." She looked directly into the camera. "What's not okay is treating people poorly because you're in pain. What's not okay is lashing out at those who extend kindness. What's not okay is assuming the worst in everyone you meet." Lorraine glanced at her notes, then pushed them aside. "I think we need a break. When we come back, we'll continue with our scheduled programming. Because the show, as they say, must go on." She gave a weary smile to the camera. "And it will go on. Because that's what we do. We keep going, even when things get difficult. Even when people surprise us. Even when our best intentions are met with hostility." The camera began to pull back. "We'll be right back," Lorraine said softly. And as the studio lights dimmed for the commercial break, Lorraine Kelly sat in her yellow chair, a veteran broadcaster who'd just experienced something she'd never forget. The empty seat across from her served as a stark reminder of what happens when communication breaks down completely. Behind the cameras, producers scrambled to figure out how to fill the remaining airtime. The audience sat in stunned silence, still trying to understand what they'd just witnessed. But in that moment, in that quiet studio, one truth became crystal clear. Sometimes, even the most experienced hosts meet guests who simply cannot be reached. Sometimes, kindness is mistaken for cruelty. Sometimes, helping hands are slapped away. And sometimes, despite everyone's best efforts, an interview doesn't just go wrong, it implodes completely.